I am here at the Apollo Victoria Theatre in London's West End to see Wicked from the cheapest seats in the theatre. Now, these are the cheapest seats that you can book in advance on the theatre's website. So to see which seats I'll be sitting in tonight, let's head back in time to when I booked the tickets. Okay, let's book some tickets. So we are going directly via the Wicked, the musical.co.uk website. Here we are on the main website. We're going to click straight through to book now, and then I'm just going to click on any date for now, and it will take me to a page that will show me the prices that are available for all the performances. Now, I know that the cheapest pre-booked ticket that you can get for Wicked is £25. So I'm going to go through and see when the earliest opportunity to get a £25 pre-booked ticket is for Wicked. As a frame of reference, it's currently the middle of October. If we go forward to here, so this is the 19th of November, so 1 month time, there is £25 ticket availability. If we just narrow it down to just the £25 tickets, you can see it's these ones. So here and on the other side here, so right on the edges around the middle of the circle. So £25 tickets are available as little as a month in advance, but let's just go a little bit further forward to see if we can see, if you did book a little bit further in advance, what you would be able to get for £25. So let's go on this one. So we're now on the 18th of March. So as you can see, there are a few different options for £25 tickets. So we have these ones down here are right, so as you can see, the stage is right here, and all of these red seats down the side here are £25. So if you're here, you're actually incredibly close to the stage. But as you can see, these seats are quite restricted. So as it says, due to the set, there are times the audience may miss parts of the production. But all of these red seats here are £25. If we zoom out, then we also have these seats back here as well. So these are on either side of the stalls at the very, very back. So you're probably going to have some overhang from the circle. However, you will have pretty clear sight lines of the stage. They're not restricted view, as you can see, clear view from the seat. And there's like quite a few to choose from. So if you're booking in a bigger group, that is a good option. And then we go back to the ones that we just saw before. So these ones on either side of the circle. And again, like quite a decent amount of seats there for you to choose from. This front row is restricted, safety wall in sight line. And then it also says limited leg room. But then these ones behind are all clear view. So for the purpose of this review, I would like it to be as helpful as possible. So I'll probably rule these stalls ones out for now, because most of them you can only book in a pair, and I'm conscious that some people might want to book as a family. So I think I'm going to aim to have a look and try out the view from these seats in the circle. These seats back here as well, these do become available probably closer to the time once the seats further forward have sold. So I think me trying out these seats will hopefully give you a good idea of what the view might be from these seats as well. So I'm going to go through and finalise my booking, and I will see you at the show. I cannot wait for the show tonight. I haven't seen Wicked for about 3 years. So I haven't seen the new cast, which includes Emma Kingston and Zizi Stralin. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully they will both be on, but if not, obviously we'll look forward to seeing the understudies. Yeah, I'm really excited to go in and see it. I'm also excited to be catching it again before Wicked for Good comes out, the second part of the movie. So let's head on in. There it is in all its glory, the Apollo Victoria. Amazing theatre, it's absolutely huge. Let's take in some of the gorgeous show photography on the way in. I'm here quite early because I'm scared of vlogging in public, so I wanted to get to my seat before it got really busy. Let's head in.
We've arrived. There's not too many people in the auditorium yet, so that's fantastic news for me. Oh, they're just putting the screen down. So I'm just heading over to my seat. So we are M49, which is over here in the corner. So if you look at the whole circle, as I said, this theatre is absolutely huge. So we're actually about halfway up the circle in this little side section here. So let's head down. We're looking for M49. This one. Okay. Well, that's incredible. What an amazing seat. Absolutely no complaints. I'm not a tall person, but the legroom is okay for me. But the seat next to me is literally right on the aisle and has absolutely nothing in front of it. So that would be incredible for someone that was that needed some more legroom. My initial impressions of this seat, I am so impressed, honestly. For the cheapest seats in the theatre, this feels, at the moment, obviously I haven't seen the show yet, but currently this feels like it's going to be an absolute steal. I'm so impressed with the view. We're not far back in the circle. It is a really big circle, but we're actually genuinely only about halfway up it. I have sat at the back of the circle and I know that you get a really clear view, but this feels much closer, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be really that bad of a side view. So I mean, we'll see how it is obviously when the cast are on stage and when the show is on, but initial first impressions, I'm genuinely so impressed. I think this is a really great seat, and like I said, if you were in this seat next to me, you would have unlimited legroom. Obviously the further down here that you get, the more restricted your view would get. And then just down here, that wall, I don't think that would obstruct your view, but it might be a little bit annoying, I'm not sure. But where I am, honestly, the view is perfect. The wall is not in the way at all. There feels like there's a really good rake, so I really doubt that anyone's head is going to get in the way. Again, if you were in this seat right here, there would be literally nobody in your way. So like unlimited legroom, no obstruction of your view at all. Really like no complaints at the moment with this view. I'm really, really, really impressed. But we will see how it is when the show is actually on, see if there is any restriction from being slightly to the side. But yeah, so far so good. I will show you around the theatre a little bit more. I'm also going to try and have a look. I'll go to the back of the circle, and in the interval I might try and go down into the stalls to show you what the view would be like from those other restricted views that we looked at when we were booking the tickets, just to give you a bit of an idea of the view from all of those spots. But so far, this spot, really impressed. Okay, so just moving down a bit just to have a look at the view if you were right at the edge. So if I was right next to the wall on my row, this would be the view. So definitely a little bit more obstructed, definitely more of a side view. Also the wall is a little bit more in the way, so the seats toward the aisle are definitely better. And then let's just see if the wall does affect the view here. Honestly, not really. This is where my head is. Like you could definitely lean back. I don't think you would really need to lean forward. My feet are right there, so a little bit tight, but really good still. This would probably be, out of all of the seats in this area, this one closest to the wall on the front would probably be the most restricted. You would definitely have to lean forward, but then you have this little bit of space here, so you could kind of lean. But this seat would 100% be the most restricted in this little area for sure. Okay, I have come all the way to the back of the circle just to show you what the view would be like from these seats back here. As you can see, you are significantly further away from the stage. I'm out of breath, God. This is the very back of the theatre. You are quite far away. It is a completely clear view up here, and as I said, the rake is really good throughout the whole circle, but you feel very far away. I have sat here before, and as I said, it's always been a really clear view, it just feels distant. So in terms of like making out facial expressions, making out this like finer details in the cast performance, you'll just miss those kind of small facial expressions, smaller details, maybe some of that emotion that's kind of in the production. But in terms of like the overall show, you will get a good overall view of it. So this over here, if we just turn this little section over here, that is where my seat is, in that little boxed off bit on the side on its own. This theatre is just so Aussified. The green lights, I absolutely love these. They light up during Emerald City, which is one short day in the Emerald City, which is incredible. The floor is green, the seats are green. It just has such an amazing, wicked Oz vibe, like these hanging lights over the ceiling that like blend into the stage. It's just gorgeous. So as I mentioned, these are the cheapest seats you can pre-book at Wicked. Specifically pre-book because obviously booking tickets in advance with the theatre is very different to the kind of deals that you can get if you book last minute. So if you book last minute, you can get rush tickets, you can do Wicked Wednesdays, which is the front row of the theatre, which goes on sale the Wednesday of each week for the following week. So there are lots of deals that you can get if you are prepared to come to the theatre and do more of a last minute trip. So if you want to have a look at different ways that you can book tickets for cheaper, there are lots of different ways, then head on over to my top tips on how to get cheap West End theatre tickets video, where I have spoken a lot about all the different ways that you can get last minute cheap theatre tickets. But this is the cheapest pre-bookable tickets that you can get for Wicked directly via their website. Okay, it is the interval. I am really enjoying the show. It's fantastic. Quick thoughts on the seats so far. So, it is a fantastic view. You don't feel too far away from the stage. You do feel a reasonable distance. You can make out faces and make out facial expressions, but it's not like super clear. You are still like a decent distance from the stage. In terms of being on the side, it doesn't actually feel like a side view at all. Like, you're not missing any action on the sides of the stage. You hardly even notice that you're in a side view, so that's great. The view is completely clear until the front row lean forward. I did wonder if this would be a problem, and it really is a problem. So when the people in the front row are sitting normally, as they should be sitting, kind of like leaning back in their seat or like sitting up straight in their seat, the view is completely clear. Like I said, the rake is great, so no heads would be in your way. But the front row is leaning forward and leaning on that wall that I showed you at the start, and that like can completely block your view of a massive part of the stage, which is really frustrating. So that is the only problem with this seat. I think obviously if you were on one of the aisle seats, then that wouldn't matter because those people wouldn't be in your way. But where I am sitting, when the girl in front of me leans forward and leans on the wall, it blocks like a good like half of the stage, and I have to either sit up really straight or lean a little bit to the side. There was a couple of times when she leant back in her seat and the view was amazing. So it's a great view just until someone leans forward, and you obviously can't control that. So if the person in front of you is sitting normally, the view is incredible, fantastic, no complaints. But you are completely at the mercy of the person in front of you. It is still a good view regardless. You can like sit up a bit taller or lean to the sides, but it's definitely a bit of a negative. If they are leaning forward, it does block the view, limit the view. Yeah, it's just a bit of a downer on what otherwise is a really fantastic seat. So something to bear in mind, but really enjoying the show so far. My only complaint is the sound. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like theatres are too quiet nowadays. This is a huge space to fill, but it just feels, I just want it to be louder. Like, I want the orchestra in particular to be louder, like the start of Defying Gravity when it's like dun 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 dun, or like dun, I hope you're happy, dun, I hope you're having a, that, those notes, I like want them to be loud and like really hit the audience, but they're so quiet. So that's my only complaint. I just want it to be louder and fill the space more and hit you a little bit stronger. I'm gonna head downstairs and try and show you the other restricted views that we looked at when we were booking tickets. So let's head down now and see what the views are like from those spots. Okay, so this is the very, very back of the stalls. Really, really good rake actually in this theatre. Down here as well in the stalls. So it's a really clear view. As you can see, you can't see the dragon. The very, very top of the stage is chopped off, and you have a little bit of overhang up there, but overall, like a really great view, and I really don't think, I think the rake is good enough that the heads wouldn't be in the way of the stage, so this seems like a decent spot to sit in. And then the other restricted view seats were these ones down here. So it's like all of these pairs of seats right down here. So if I just like nip in here, this is the view from these seats. So the rake is not very good down here, so I feel like you could get someone tall in front of you and you can see those steps there. I guess that's why these are classed as restricted view, because those steps would obviously block a little bit of the view of the stage. But you are nice and close. I do think that if someone tall sat in front of you, that would block your view. I think the steps would block a decent amount, but I don't think it would be terrible because you can kind of see through them. So this is the other view from the other restricted view seats. Let's just walk a bit more forward. Well, hello! It is time to share my final thoughts on my £25 seats at Wicked. So, like I said when I was there, I was really, really impressed with the area that the seat was in. So, that little section of seats where my seat was placed is in a really great spot in the theatre. You're only halfway up the circle, which is amazing. Like I said, the theatre is huge, and hopefully you got an idea of that from my clips at the theatre. So you are still reasonably far from the stage just because the theatre is so big. But actually, in terms of kind of how big the circle is and how far the circle does go back, you're a lot closer than you could be. You are obviously right at the edge of the circle in that little section, but like I said, from my seat, it didn't feel like a side view at all. Hopefully that you can also see from my little clip of the bows, none of the stage is cut off, so it never ever feels like you're missing any of the action when you're watching the show. As I mentioned, as you got further to the wall, that side view would be pronounced a little bit. But I do think from any of those seats, the view will be really decent and not too much of a side view. So as I mentioned, the view is completely clear until someone in the front row leans forward. It's always going to be a risk if you sit there that someone will lean forward and lean on the wall, and you have to bear that in mind when you're booking these tickets. If I was booking tickets to sit here again, I would definitely sit in that aisle seat. I think that aisle seat was incredible. Like I said, unlimited leg room. There will be absolutely nobody in your way. And then I would probably book the rows actually behind where I was, because I think even if people did lean on the wall, the effect of that wouldn't really bother you, or it wouldn't really affect you if you were just slightly further back. So yeah, if I was to book that section again, those seats again, if I was recommending those seats to anyone, I would either recommend the aisle seats, or I would recommend the seats in rows N and O rather than where I was in M, just because in M, you really, really are affected if those people lean forward. I am 5'4", so I think anyone taller than me would get a really fantastic view from that front row. Obviously, if you're in the front row, no one is going to lean forward and block your view. There is absolutely nothing to obstruct your view if you're in the front row. So if you're taller than I am, that wall will not affect your view, and you will have a really great view of the show. The only thing to bear in mind is obviously the leg room. But yeah, overall, I would really, really recommend this section of seats. I think they are fantastic value. I think they offer a really good view of the show. I do think the sound is slightly affected in this area. The sound is still really clear. You can hear everything. There's nothing that you can't hear. It just doesn't feel as loud and engaging and impactful. You don't feel quite as immersed, I would say, in the show. That's one thing, but it is so minor. It's a very small price to pay for these tickets. So I would highly recommend sitting in this section. Some of the seats in the section are better than others, but overall, I do think the whole section is a really great bargain, a great place to sit if you are looking for cheap tickets that you can book in advance for Wicked. I always enjoy a trip to see Wicked, and I definitely would recommend catching it if you never have. And if you do want to find cheap seats, these are a really great option. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that this was helpful. And if you're buying tickets to go and head and see Wicked in London, I really hope you enjoy the show. I have lots of other theatre related content on my channel, so please check that out, and I'll be posting more cheapest seat reviews soon. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!